right, guys, so today I wanted to go over what I call the recruiting equation. And essentially what this is, what are coaches looking for? What's the entire equation? You guys know metrics are important. You guys know grades are important. You guys know your overall talent, what kind of baseball player, stuff like that. I wanted to put this out clear, make it crystal clear, so you know exactly what coaches are looking for and maybe how these things are weighted against each other. Meaning, what's the most important thing? What's the least important thing? And obviously, this is going to change based on the school, right? It's going to be fairly accurate, generally speaking, across the board. But there will be some schools that favor, higher metrics a little bit more, or your overall aptitude a little bit more, meaning how good of a baseball player are you? What are your instincts? So we're going to cover all that, and then I'll kind of give you an idea of what the weighting is going to look like, all right? So first off, guys, we're going to go, number one, metrics, right? We all know this. We all know that metrics are important, right? Metrics are great because it gives a coach an idea of what your overall physical abilities are. Meaning, all right, we know what your velocity is, we know what your 60 time is, your exit velocity. It gives you an idea of kind of what the floor to ceiling may look like for an individual player, and it makes it objective. So there's no guesswork involved. Again, metrics, what I like to say, guys, are the best evaluators and the best scouts 30 years ago, before exit velocity and all this stuff were big things. Obviously, velocity has always been important, and we've known that for quite a while now. But your old-time scouts, your really good evaluators, these guys could see this without having the metrics, right? They could see, what a high spin rate four seam was called back then was, second gear fastball. This guy has a fastball, gets on you, plays up, stuff like that. So metrics make it to where all of us, even if you don't have the eye to see these things, you can be certain from looking at the metrics, it makes it objective. Number two, what kind of ball player are you? All right, and this is where it gets a little bit subjective, right? You cannot quantify this. This is where a lot of the old school versus analytics people kind of get in arguments, because how good of instincts a player has, how high of a baseball IQ, how great his actions are, this is something that needs to be evaluated and seen and scouted and judged by an evaluator. There are plenty of guys that have great number one. They have great metrics, but they are terrible baseball players. I've played with a bunch of these guys. I coached guys like that, where you look at the overall physical tools and you're like, man, this guy's got huge potential, but the baseball IQ is low, doesn't have great instincts in the batter's box, doesn't have great instincts in the field, makes base running mistakes all the time, doesn't know where to go with the baseball, just not a baseball player. The game, and typically what you'll see with guys who aren't baseball players is their tools kind of play down in the game. Your guys that are really good ball players, that are just kind of, a dirtbag, that's a big compliment in the baseball world. Those guys, their tools play up. They're better in the game than you think they're going to be. They may not look great in BP. They may be a little guy like I was, but the lights turn on, the pressure gets put on you, you perform, you play better than people think. Number three, we'll go with grades. Now, grades, guys, again, baseball is moving towards more closely to a full ride type sport. Again, we're not going to be there this year or this coming, in 2025 for their recruiting class. But with a lot of the in-state, like, for example, with a lot of the in-state scholarships, like in Georgia with the Hope Scholarship, you will see some schools in the Power Four that can get close to all full rides if you include that Hope Scholarship as well. Meaning you don't have to go to 30, 34, you can go to 20-something, and with that extra help from the Hope Scholarship, you can get there. A lot of people, from what we've heard, the highest you're going to see certain programs go, like your LSU and stuff like that, are going to be to maybe like mid-20s right now. But down the line, a year, 2, 3 from now, you're probably going to see that kind of slowly creep up higher and higher. Again, not every school's going to be able to get to that, but I think you're going to see even the schools that maybe this year don't have any increased scholarships over the next couple years. If you're going to compete, especially in that Power 4 level or the mid-majors that are really good, you're going to have to see that creep up. And so grades are going to help you get those academic scholarships like the Hope Scholarship in Georgia and a lot across the rest of the country. this is going to help you. It's going to make you more recruitable. One, because the coach doesn't think, all right, we got to give him like a massive scholarship to get him, and we don't think he's worth that big of a scholarship. That's what a lot of you guys don't get. If your grades aren't good and a coach likes you, but in order for them to feel like they have a chance of getting you, they have to offer you a big scholarship. Now they're thinking, well, if we offered this scholarship to, we could get a guy that's even better for this size scholarship. Whereas if you had some kind of really good, if you had good grades, you got some academic money, all of a sudden they don't need to offer you as big as a scholarship. You know, they could offer you a 25%. I was a 25% going into Georgia Tech because I had the Hope Scholarship. And with that, I mean, it was basically a full ride almost. It was like 5% wasn't covered. So better grades you get, the more recruitable you are. It's not about, man, we want a bunch of guys with great GPAs. That, you know, that's fine, but it makes it to where schools can be more flexible with their athletic money. So, you know, that's really important. Number 4, I'm going to go with this, and it's just coachability and personality, and we'll say attitude as well. Coachability, attitude. All right, are you coachable, and what is your attitude like? 1, all right, guys, you're seeing this across, you see it across social media all the time, guys, and I'm just going to lay this out there. A lot of you guys may disagree. That's fine. I want to have this conversation. Post it in the comments if you disagree. Coaches, I promise you this, whether you like it or not, the guys that are recruiting you right now, not all of them, but the vast majority of them come from, you know, they're my age or older, meaning they're guys that, you know, didn't come up in this rah-rah, you know, celebrating singles, pimping walks, stuff like that. We didn't come up in that era. Guys that did that when we were playing, and that was just, you know, for me, that was 13 years ago, not that long ago. I mean, your coach would get on you for that. That was looked down upon. It wasn't sportsmanlike. It looked like you hadn't been there before. You were taught to act like a professional. Not saying I'm against all of it, guys. I'm not. But when I'm trying to get you in the mind of a coach that's recruiting you, if he sees that every time you hit a single or, you know, you walk and you're like mouthing off to the pitcher and you're pimping it, and, you know, it looks like it's all about you, which is what they're going to think. This guy likes making himself look good. That's going to be a red flag for them in recruiting. Now, if you're super talented, they're not going to care. You know, it's like with grades. If you're super talented, they'll work as best as they can to get you in school. Now, they're going to be worried about your eligibility, but they're going to work as best as they can to get you in school. Same with this. You got a terrible attitude, they're going to say, all right, well, we can work on it. But if you're like 95% of guys out there, if you're like I was, I could not have been that guy that the red flag was at, if I had a big red flag like that. Again, that doesn't mean you are that. Like, doesn't mean you are selfish. Doesn't mean you got a bad attitude. But you can't be that guy, and then when you strike out or whatever, you're sitting in the dugout pouting and not encouraging your teammates. And, you know, you look like you're so worried about yourself that you can't be a team player. That's going to be a red flag for a lot of coaches that are my age or older, because we see that and we think selfish, thinks about himself too much. Now, attitude, the other thing is, how do you handle failure? I've talked to you guys a bunch about this. You know, baseball, you have to learn how to just deal with failure. Expect it, know what's going to happen, push through it. Don't freak out when it happens. I promise you, the number one contributing factor to guys having success or not is how they deal with failure. So if a coach comes to see you play, again, now with all these changes, I mean, you got to be a dude of dudes to get to like the Power Four or the really good mid-majors like a Coastal or a Southern Miss, etc., Georgia Southern. You got to be a dude. And so if they come to see you play and every time you strike out, you look like you're moaning in the dugout, you're throwing your stuff, that's a bad sign. It's a clear indicator that you're probably not going to deal with failure very well. And I can promise you, no matter how good arms you're facing in the summer, when you get on campus your freshman year and you're facing arms day in, day out, that's going to be even higher level than what you face in the summer. Because a lot of you guys out there are like, man, I'm facing these amazing pitchers every summer and they're all throwing 96. It's like, no, they're not. The vast majority of guys you're facing in the summer are throwing like 84. Maybe that. Maybe. You will, of course, you will face a really good pitcher every once in a while, but you're facing that every single day, 3 or 4 at-bats when you get to college. Every single day. So that is a huge, huge adjustment period. And if you don't deal with failure, I played with a lot of guys, especially when I got to college, where they were studs in high school. And all of a sudden, they're experiencing a little bit of failure. They've never experienced it in their life, and all of a sudden they shut down. So an attitude and coachability, can you take criticism? Are you going to get defensive anytime your coach gets on you? If you do something wrong in a travel ball game and your coach gets on you and you're giving him lit back, that's a huge red flag. So, guys, all 4 of these, and there's some other things we could bring up, but these are probably the biggest ones. All right, is he a ball player? Or is metrics good enough? Grades, and then attitude and coachability. All right, so I want to weigh these. And obviously we have out of 100, okay? We're going to weigh these out of 100. So I'm going to go with this. And I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. You may think I'm dead wrong, but I want to know what you think in the comments, all right? I'm going to go, so we're going to go with 25 here. 25. Ball player, 50. 10. 15. Now, you may think, Kyle, you're dead wrong, this or that, but I can promise you these 2 are always going to be the most important. Because like I said, if you're really talented, and you're a ball player, they'll do anything they can to get you in school, even if your grades are terrible. And they'll make sure they set you up with, mandatory study hall hours and get you with tutors in every one of your classes. But these are the most important thing. Because if you have this, but you don't have these, you're not getting recruited. Right? That's how we have to think about it. So you have to have these, which makes them automatically weighted higher, and then these become important after that. The reason I say metrics is about half as important as, what kind of baseball player you are. And again, metrics meaning, for whatever school's recruiting you. A Division II is going to want a little bit different metrics than, Power 4. They're going to be a little bit less selective. Meaning if your LSU wants a right-handed pitcher throwing 95, a Division II probably wants that too, but they're going to be okay with a guy throwing 88 to 90 or whatever, something like that. So the reason I think metrics are important, but not as important as a ball player, is because this is the number one factor is you being a performer or not. And a lot of the analytics guys and new age guys are like, well, how does that make sense? Because I've seen guys with great swings, beautiful swings, bat speed, but they get in the game and they can't put the ball in play. They have no hitter's instincts. So what's more important? You have and this is again where a lot of analytics guys will tell you, well, if you have a perfect swing, the problem is a swing is based on one set of variables in a pitch, meaning the speed, the shape of the pitch, the release point, the action on it. So you may have a perfect swing on that pitch, but there may be a bunch of other pitches where your swing is not good because it can't adjust. That's why I talk about adjustability being the number one thing in a swing. But if you have great metrics, again, if you throw 95, people are going to be recruiting you. They're going to call you. They're going to be looking for you. They're going to be trying to figure out how to get you on campus. But if you throw like 80% balls, meaning you have no feel for pitching, which goes into this ball player category, you got feel for pitching, you got feel for the game, they're not going to want you if you're walking the house every time you get in the game. I can promise you, like, that's a lot of kids these days are basically told, you throw 95, you're going wherever you want to go, top 10 school, whatever. The reality is, yeah, they're going to come watch you. They're going to, this kid threw 95, let's go watch him. And then let's say they see you 3 times and you walked 8 guys in 3 innings. So basically every inning you're walking like 2 or 3 guys. They're going to say, I don't know if we can invest money in this guy. Because again, you got to remember now, with these changes, that kid probably gets like a preferred walk-on spot 3 or 4 years ago. But now they can go get a kid that throws 95 in the portal and throws strikes and had like a 2 or a 3 ERA. So why are you going to spend your athletic scholarships on a kid that has no idea where the strike zone is? Because the reality is, especially with pitching, the hardest thing to do is to teach a kid command. It's such a feel thing. It's like you can clean up mechanics and you can make his delivery more repeatable, and that can help. But in reality, there's a lot of times where guys just they cannot learn how to throw strikes more consistently. It's very hard. So guys, I hope this was helpful. I thought I would throw this together and see what you guys think. Again, let me know in the comments. You think I don't know what I'm talking about? Let me know. I'll get back with the answer. We can have a conversation. But appreciate all the support, guys. We'll be back with another video tomorrow.